This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Stick Tamer Bow Silencers. Are you a traditional archery hunter or shooter? Stick Tamer was specifically designed for the recurve shooter. Made of a hybrid foam rubber material, Stick Tamer is designed to deaden string slap and limb vibration. Stick Tamer reduces limb and string noise, water resistant, and lasts shot after shot. Made in the USA from a hybrid foam rubber for durability. To purchase Stick Tamer and for more information, visit threeriversarchery.com and blackwidowbows.com. Stick Tamer bow silencers are available exclusively at threeriversarchery.com and blackwidowbows.com. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls. Tonight, I do not have any co-host with me, but I do have special guest Tom Kessel with Hiland Outfitters LLC based out of Wyoming. And I've got James Ross here with me. He's special guest as well with Laurel Fork Farms and Outdoors. So tonight we're just going to be talking about Hiland Outfitters LLC, the history behind it. We're going to hit on some turkey hunting tips and topics from Texas and Wyoming. And without further ado, how are you doing, Tom and James?
Doing well.
Hey, good to see y'all guys tonight. My favorite folks.
So, Tom, you just, y'all were on your way back there, or actually in West Virginia now, from a trip that you had in Ohio there, hunting wild boar.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to go visit some friends that have a preserve in southern Ohio. Got to go with some family that hadn't got to hunt with for a few years, and got a little bit of hunting in today. It's good to get back in the woods and get moving around.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're the current owner of Hiland Outfitters LLC, but there's a rich history there, and it goes back a long way. So give us a little bit of insight on that history.
The company was started by a guy from Hiland, Wyoming named Don Bennett in the 80s. The late 80s, I went and hunted with him, met him at the Charleston Civic Center in January of 1988. So that fall, we ended up hunting with him. It was my brothers, my dad, a couple of my dad's buddies. Had a great time. Went back again in 90. 91, we started guiding for him. My brothers and I both helped out. And then over the years, we'd make the trip from West Virginia to go and help out when he needed us. I look back on it, we busted our tails to guiding and learning a whole lot of country just to get a free hunt. But, man, that was what we had to do back then. And it came time for him to retire, and he sitting in camp one day, and he goes, "I'm selling this. I want you to have it." And then kind of got together, made a plan, and took over in 2001, and we've been running it ever since.
Wow, that's awesome. So he definitely knew that you could carry on the business and knew the ropes there.
Yeah, and it's, some of the ranchers that we're hunting on, they were young like I was back then. It's kind of like, their parents had the ranches, so it's kind of like you grew up with some of our landowners that we hunt on, and we've kind of, I think, gathered a lot more country to hunt in. Back then, nobody really thought a whole lot about it. You went and shot the biggest thing you wanted. No, people weren't into managing land or, well, let's only shoot so many antelope this year, and the next year we'll maybe have some better ones and stuff. So, it's just kind of things that progressed over the years. And, I kind of think that we've really helped some of the animals that also in central Wyoming. The ranchers are on board doing things. So it's been a big learning process over the years, but, a great way to make a living, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So how many non-native species of animals are you all hunting there in Wyoming? I know you all have the Wyoming outfit, and you also have one in Texas, correct?
Correct. We, in Wyoming, we do a lot of antelope, and it's just because there's a lot more antelope tags available. Mule deer, archery elk is probably one of our specialties. It's my passion, I guess. We do from time to time do a handful of mountain lion hunts. Merriam turkeys in the northeast part of the state. That's getting real popular. We do a lot of those. Wyoming has some moose and some mountain goat and some bighorn sheep. We just don't have them in any of our areas. That's something that somebody is really wanting to do. I can, put them in the right direction with the right outfitter that I know out there that does that. But we stay pretty busy with that. Texas, we're mostly doing Rio turkey hunts. A lot of times some guys want to shoot some pigs or maybe hunt some of the exotics, in that time of year, axis deer, aoudad, black buck. That's something we can do also.
So that's cool. You all network with some of the other outfitters there in the area. If there's something there that somebody want, or you all don't have, you all can direct them.
Yeah, I have a brother down there that's he does a little bit of outfitting himself, and some guys that I used to guide with for other outfitters there, back in the 90s. So it worked out that we still have those connections too, where we can call and say, "Hey, I got a black buck hunter or axis hunter, and can we get on your place and hunt and get it done?" So just years of connections and great landowners basically over the years.
Yeah. Now, is there fees and stuff associated on your all side for that, or is that part of does that come along with just the connections you all make out there?
No, that's fees. It's the outfit business. A lot of old timers will tell you, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I could go to Wyoming or Texas, I could knock on the door and they say, "Yeah, I'll shoot an antelope," or "Yeah, get rid of these pigs." Those days are kind of whittling down. Landowners realize that, they can make money too. So, the way that things work now is, some ranches we may lease, some we have a deal worked out that, hey, if you can, I want 10 antelope shot. If you got 10 hunters, you come here, you're hunting first, things like that. But
okay,
there's
cool.
always money exchanged. It's
definitely. I mean, you got to stay in business. I mean, that's y'all's livelihood.
Yeah, and the landowners too. It's if you take a guy in there and I'm paying a landowner X amount to hunt elk, that's helping me, but it's helping him fix that fence and that herd of elk tore up all summer long. So it's just kind of it all evens out in a way.
Yeah, so it's not always an outfitter that you're going and hunting on. It's sometimes a rancher.
Yeah, we have our own properties that in Wyoming that we've hunted, and we've hunted them for years. We don't own them; we have the hunting rights to them, and then we work that out per hunter or per so much a year. That's the way we do it. We utilize some BLM and public land too. That's another thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. Outfitters are charged by the BLM and the state to use public land if they're outfitting on it, where, Joe Smith can go out there and he can get on BLM and do it himself. It doesn't cost anything. But, there's those costs involved. But we mostly try to stay on private land. And it's just this, over 20 years of working with some of these same ranchers. They know that they charge me X amount, I'm going to pay it. I'm not going to leave a gate open. If his fence needs fixed, I can fix it, and they don't have to worry about everything that everybody worries about. People leaving gates open, people leaving trash, people starting a fire. So,
yeah. And fires are big out in that area, especially when it's getting dry and y'all ain't having much precipitation.
Yeah, and the snowfall we're getting now is a blessing, and then it's a curse too. I mean, the cattle and things right now are having a little bit of a tough time, and their ranchers are scurrying around to try to get them fed. But the snow on top of that mountain, when it starts coming off this spring and summer, that's going to be water for the grass down low.
Oh yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about the Wyoming draw system, something that people don't understand a lot about, and we want to discuss that so we can explain that to them a little bit.
Yeah, our license system is somewhat the Western states. For somebody first just going in, it could be a little bit intimidating. But basically, states have the preference points, and what happens is if you apply for a license and you do not draw a license, you have the option to purchase a preference point. So what happens is in the future draws, that will give you preference. With all that said, some guys will just say, hey, I'm going to go elk hunting here in 5 or 6 years. I'll just buy some preference points. So it's time to go hunting. They've already got them. So some people do that. But what I think a lot of misconception is, a lot of people will think, okay, well, an antelope area may need 3 preference points. So I have to wait 3 years to get that, accumulate my points. That's not always the case. 80% of the licenses for any species in any given area in Wyoming goes to hunters who have the most preference points. So these other 20% go into a random draw. So what happens there is, if someone, say, doesn't have any preference points and his buddy's got 1 and it's taken 2 to draw, well, the guy with 1 point and the guy with 0 point, they still get thrown in with this random draw. And we have hunters every year. For instance, last year we had a few guys that had maybe 6 points for deer, and they didn't get drawn because it was taken more than 6. But then we had a couple guys from another Midwestern state. First time they applied, they got drawn in the random draw. So there's always that chance. And I think there's just a small misconception that if an area is taken X amount of points and you don't have those points, that you don't have a chance. But you actually do have a chance. It's just, lower odds.
Okay. So do they have to have those preference points to hunt with you all, or say, if I'm not buying into that draw and I want to come out and just do a hunt, I can just do that?
You will still have to apply for your license, and you would, if you don't have any preference points, then you would fall into that drawing of those 20% of the licenses. That's in a random drawing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The days of going and buying it over the counter are just kind of going away. And a lot of it's supply and demand. Just say our southern part of our state a few years ago had a horrendous winter. So a lot of the antelope had a winter kill. So then they decreased one area. I'm using one for example. They were giving out 800 tags. So the winter wipes out some antelope, and all of a sudden the next year they only gave out 250. So that's when, if you had 1 point or you didn't have any, odds were you were going to draw. Well, then with this decrease in numbers, then all of a sudden you had to have 3 or 4 preference points. And it's just kind of supply and demand basically too.
Okay. Now does that hurt you all with this system being in place? And do you like this, or do you like the counter pay, like what you're talking about, to where somebody would just come out and say, hey, I want to hunt. Let's get my license.
Yeah.
Hunt.
If we had the over the counter tags and they were unlimited, we wouldn't have the game. Excuse me. So it's kind of a catch-22. I do think our Game and Fish, as much as, I want to argue with them about some of the things they do and the prices they charge for the licenses for non-residents, I do think that they have good intentions of never taking too many animals out of the herd of anything. We've got one of the strongest elk herds that we've ever had in Wyoming. So therefore, I do think they need to get a little bit more liberal with those in certain areas. But, I don't know how it works if we were just, if a guy could go buy, 2 or 3 antelope tags. I don't think we'd have the numbers. So there's like I said before, it's a thin line of what you want to say, a catch-22. There's good and there's bad with it.
Yeah. I believe it should definitely be limited, like what you're saying. You definitely couldn't just go out there and buy 4 or 5 tags.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. The thing about it too is with the numbers, they do stay on top of that. So, excuse me again, that does help. And the hunters, when they do get a tag with us, they come out and they're seeing elk every day, or they're seeing antelope every day, or nice mule deer, and they're quality animals. So I think, once a person sees that, and then they think, well, it was worth the wait if I had to wait, 2 or 3 years worth of preference points to get the antelope license, because, they shot a nice 14-incher that, was a good mature animal instead of, shooting a year and a half old or 2.5-year-old buck. So.
Yeah. Now you were mentioning BLM. I'm assuming that that's land management something, but what is the B?
Land Management. That is
Okay.
public land. That's BLM land is America's land. So what happens there
Okay.
is anyone can hunt it. I mean, it's just same as national forest, state forest. It's just, and there are tracts of it, throughout the West. Certain areas of certain states have quite a bit of it. Then what happens there on some of that land is too, depends on how many tags are available, things like that. Where anywhere you have public land, it does get hunted hard. So
Yeah,
that's kind of why we lean towards the private, just because we're working to try to have some nice animals and working with the landowners and only taking X amount of game per year.
Yeah, and I'm sure you all have restrictions on what you can take and what you can't take above and beyond the state and federal.
Correct.
So what are your regulations personally there on your all's land that you lease?
We have certain landowners. One ranch, for example, is 22,000 acres. This is one of the ranches we hunt on, and no matter how, and this falls into a little bit of hard to draw deer area. No matter what his deer population looks like, he tells me you can shoot 5 deer. That's it. Whether he goes, if I've got 30 big bucks here, until I think I've got more bucks than I have that I need, or it's hurting my property, or they're hurting the herd, then we're not going to shoot more than that. So that's that's what I like. I like guys that, and he likes a big deer. I mean, like he says, I've shot huge deer my whole life, but because I still want to be out rounding my cows up and look over and see a 28-inch mule deer. He goes, you know what I'm saying? He goes, I still got it in me, and we work to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, one of my dream hunts is a big elk hunt out there somewhere. So, we've got the elk being reintroduced here in West Virginia with the elk program that they've got, but I still think it's going to be about another 15 years before we can hunt them here.
Yeah, I think that it will take some time. I've talked to some guys in West Virginia about that and how it's going, and I really think that it's going to be beneficial to the state. I mean, I don't see any major predators that they have to deal with. I think the elk are going to adjust and do fine. They're a hardy animal too. Yeah.
I talked to some of the DNR guys there that worked on that project, and they said that starting out they had a rough time and they'd gotten some disease and things in them, but since then they've done really well and they're starting to flourish pretty good. So
yeah, I think that they'll be it's going to work out well. I mean, look how well Kentucky did. So same terrain, same kind of climate. I think that it's really going to be a boost for the state.
Yep, I do too. I'm looking forward to it. So one of the things we like to do during our podcast is our salute to service. And our salute to service this evening is Troy Simpson. Troy Simpson is the brother of Shane Simpson. We just had Shane Simpson on the other night, and we was talking turkey for sure. But so Troy Simpson was born in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. He served in the Army and the Army National Guard. He was a sergeant first class, his rank. Years served was 29, with 22 of it being active. The bases that he served out of was Bumholder, Germany, Fort Benning, Georgia, and National Guard Bureau in Arlington, Virginia. Number of tours and where those were, he had 1 tour each in Bosnia, Kosovo, and Afghanistan. He was awarded the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, 3 Meritorious Service Medals, 7 Army Commendation Medals, 4 Army Achievement Medals, a Kosovo Campaign Medal, an Afghanistan Campaign Medal, and he was honorably discharged September the 30th, 2019. Troy Simpson, we thank you for your service, sir, to our great country, and God bless you. James, you can go ahead and chime in there, brother.
Hey, I just, now that coming off the tail end of that salute to service, I can't thank you guys enough for doing that. You guys are doing a great thing. I know we have a lot of advocates in the outdoor business here that we salute our folks. Being a retired Army officer, I know you've saluted me before. Very appreciated. I appreciate that a lot. But what you're doing, thank you so much for keeping those guys. And I know you've had some guys you've mentioned that are not with us anymore, and our guys that have sacrificed in the line of duty. Very humble, taking a knee on those guys and putting our heads down and thinking about them all the time, their families.
Yeah, definitely. I tell you, that was, I'm sure it was harder for Dan to do that salute for that gentleman that he served with, but man, it was sure hard for me to be a part of that, because it just, like I said on that podcast, if you're an American and you love America and you have the patriotism in you, like most of us Americans do, man, that really hits your heart and it hits home.
Yeah, and Tom might be able to vouch for this. Being out there in the West, I've been fortunate enough to hunt out west many years now, and you get out there in that open land and you see what our service members have actually defended. That makes it that much more special being out somewhere like that.
Oh yeah, you can't. The West is something that I think every American ought to see. I mean, it's just, and the service people that come through our camps, we can't thank them enough for what they've done. Great bunch of guys. We always thank them in our camp for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys do that as well.
I'm honored to be a part of that alumni, and I'm very appreciative to Tom and Terry. They always take time out every year to thank me. Great friends there, and you can't ask for better people in the business. And I want all your listeners to know that if you're looking for a quality place to hunt, not just for the game that Tom's talked about, it's just the people. One, they're good West Virginians, but two, what they do take care of their clientele. And you will not go wrong. Spend the money to go with Tom and Terry Kessel at Hiland Outfitters, because I'll put my name on the line for them any day.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, we've only heard good things about you guys, and I know you all have been coming there. Like you said, your brother owns Spring Hill Rod and Gun, and you all been coming to the West Virginia Hunting and Fishing Show, about every since it's been there, correct?
Yeah. Since the inception, Hiland Outfitters is probably the only outfitter that's been there all 30. I don't know if we're up to 35, 36 years now. So
yeah, 36, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So it's always been great. And just our clientele. I mean, there's a couple guys that came out of the booth this year that hunted with us, and they're in their 80s, and they said, man, I wish I still had it in me, but I remember them 20 years ago. We had a good time. So it's always good getting back, catching up with old friends and stuff. A lot of people you don't see until you're at the show. So the show's always been good to us.
For sure. Yeah, and I think, what did you think about the changes this year that they done? I know that you had some chance to walk around there a little bit, but not much because you all stayed pretty busy as well. We had a good bit of crowd that came through. It reminded me of the old days. I've been to that show ever since its conception when I was a kid. So I've seen the good and I've seen the bad of the show, and I really liked what they done with it this year.
Yeah, I think changing it up a little bit. There were some vendors that had a little bit of issues, but you can't keep everybody happy. I think that they're on the right move. Last year was a COVID year and some things going on there, and attendance was down and a lot of people weren't there. I do know that it's just some scheduling dates with some other shows that go on the same weekend. There were some people opted to go to a different show that is usually another weekend. But I think they're in the right move, in the right turnaround, where I think it was going downhill a little bit. But like I said, we can't complain. A lot of our clientele is from this area, and I do know that, there were some people that were clients of ours that were coming from North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, that were at that show this year for the first year. They knew we were within 5 hours of them, and they came to see us. So, the word gets out, then they tell their buddies, then, we might be back up busy as it used to be where you couldn't turn around in there.
Yeah, I believe it's going to get back to that after this year. I mean, it was really good, and I think next year is just going to be even better. So they keep improving on things, and I think it's just going to keep getting better, like I said. But now that we have James chiming in there a little bit, you guys out there at Hiland Outfitters are big, big promoters and users of Outdoor Edge products, their knives and things like that, and Laurel Fork Farms and Outdoors is a dealer for them. So tell us a little bit about those products, how you use them in the field, and how successful you've been using those.
To me, there's not a whole lot of gear that I will, promote. A few years ago, I had an off-brand saw. Talked to James at the show. He was showing me these Outdoor Edge knife saws, and we use those on every game. I mean, but to me, that's the best way to split the pelvis when you're in the field, and if you're quartering an elk or anything. And then, he starts showing me a different knife and this pack and this. And they have just been great. I don't know. It was this kind of a coincidental thing. He may have sent Terry a text one day about something about elk, and we were actually had service on the side of the mountain. And she says, Tom's having an issue with a Outdoor Edge knife right here. We just never had this issue before. James gets on the phone, calls Outdoor Edge. We get back to camp that night. Terry gets an email, and Outdoor Edge is shipped a brand new knife next day. I mean, we were, I'm thinking, where's that customer service? You don't see that anymore. Yeah.
No, you don't.
And James has turned us on to their products, and, and I can't thank him enough. I mean, we just deal directly with him if we need something. He's got it in the mail, or we'll put in a little order. We get to Charleston and the show, and he's got it ready for us.
Yeah, that's definitely good customer service there. I mean, they're staying right on top of it. So just we have to let people know we're not promoted by Outdoor Edge or anything. That's just a product that Hiland Outfitters uses, and we wanted to highlight them because, we believe in good products here.
Yeah.
And James, tell us a little bit more about Outdoor Edge and how long you've been dealing with them.
Sorry about that, guys. I was on the mute there.
Oh, you're fine.
I was following the rules. Anyway, I want to go on with what Tom was saying, so folks understand what kind of company Outdoor Edge is. Originally headquartered out of, Colorado. Terry and Tom's out there, and they're trying to process Terry's biggest elk she'd ever killed, and her knife failed on her. Well, Outdoor Edge is such a great company, headquartered there in Colorado. I'm able to call them up, and within, I think it was 48 hours, Terry had a new knife. Now, unfortunately, it didn't help Terry on her elk, but that's what kind of company Outdoor Edge is. We started with Outdoor Edge the year I retired from the Army, when we started Laurel Fork Farms and Outdoors. They have been a mainstay with us and will always be a mainstay with us. They are our number one selling product. And I tell you what, no matter where we go in the country, it could be Georgia, it could be, hell, we just got done in Duluth, Minnesota, and it is the number one selling product we have.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even at the Charleston show there, you all have just that, that little booth there with Outdoor Edge stuff. And it's one of the highlights of your all's booth. And when people walk by, it sells itself. It really does.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, you're doing Nature's Voice game calls right beside Kerry with the knives, and you're right. We only had a little section for Outdoor Edge this year, but the traffic. I mean, Terry and Tom walked by, and I'm looking at them. Hey, can you come over and help me? As a joke.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no doubt there are people that come back to the Charleston and Morgantown show every year, and they look for us directly because of Outdoor Edge.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Carrie does an amazing job selling them. I wasn't meaning that in a bad way, but
Oh, no.
the product is so good that it sells itself. But she makes it even better on her sales pitches and how she knows you have to know the product that you're selling, and she knows so much about that product because you all have been with them so much, and it's just a great product.
Well, that's something funny you bring up. We get all these seasoned hunters come in. Somebody like Tom. Tom's been hunting his whole life, and Carrie educates a hunter that's been hunting their whole life. This lady that, again, in our sport, it's still dominated by men, but she tells them how to properly use a gut hook or sharpen their knife or whatever, just like Tom was talking about a little bit ago, what tool to use at the appropriate time to make your life easier in the field or processing game. And that, I tell you what, that's special right there. You've got a lady in a male-dominated world that does a very good job presenting a quality product, but it's easy. Guys, that's the thing about our business. We will not sell anything we don't use, and she has the experience with outdoor edge knives and tools that, most hunters don't have.
Yeah, you're right.
But now it's I tell you what, lifetime warranty on these things. And unfortunately, Outdoor Edge did some reorganization, and we used to be able to do all the warranty for it, but they require us to go through them now. But as Tom will tell you, they do it fairly quickly, and they're a pretty honorable company, and you don't have to worry about it when you buy that product.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Tom, let's get back into some ranch life and talking about some different things there that you all do. You have, we talked about Texas. You said that even in Wyoming, with people trying to do and get the Grand Slam, that's become a big thing. You all have Merriam's there in Wyoming, and then you all have that part in Texas where you have the Rios. Tell us a little bit about your all's turkey hunting. We got turkey season coming up, and we're going to hit on that a little bit.
Yeah, in Texas, another good thing about, a guy's wanting to hunt his Rio. Season opens April 2nd. So we have a lot of guys that are, some are repeat guys. That, there's some guys that I can name off a half a dozen of them that they go after the Slam every year. I mean, just that's all they hunt is turkeys. Well, excuse me. They will hit us in, if they can get in with us in early April and hunt Rios for 2 or 3 days, then, when season comes in later in April, we're in Northeast Wyoming doing Merriam's hunts. They'll be in camp there. They're doing their traveling and doing it. But I really think that the Turkey Slam is probably more popular than it has been in years, and it's I didn't realize that there were so many guys that were just strict turkey hunters, and usually that's all they do. That's their passion.
I'm telling you. When we got into the call business, this was 12 years ago. I'm thinking, man, there can't be that many call makers out there. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But it's like you go to Nashville and you go to some of these other shows that are bigger on turkey hunting, and man, it's just like the call makers come out of the woodwork. I mean, it's like everybody wants to make their own turkey calls. It's just nuts. The turkey hunting world is a big part of the hunting industry.
Oh yeah, it is, and it's just demographics. And not every hunter that is after the Slam is from the southeastern part of the country. That's where we get a lot of them. And I tell you, it's just a great bunch of guys. Then, I love calling elk in, so therefore I love calling turkey in. So, I mean, it's something that I love to do. When I'm turkey hunting basically 2 straight months almost every day, I never get tired of it. Because you're still learning. Then you get some of these guys that come up that are great turkey callers, and you're learning. It's like you're learning from them every day. So it's great. And spring and fall is always my favorite times of the year anyway to be out. So
yeah, So when y'all do them turkey hunts, who does the calling? Does the hunter do it, or do you all have somebody that calls them in for them as like a guide, or how's that work?
They're all fully guided. But the way I look at it, the way I approach it, usually if a guy's paying to come turkey hunting, he's a turkey caller. So, and if he's trying to get his slam, he probably wants to call in that bird. So therefore, 85% of the guys want to do their own calling. I'll take them where I think there's birds. We'll get after them. If I think they may be doing something that these birds, for example, a Merriam's bird, when he gobbles in a certain country that we're in, and it sounds like he's further away, it depends on with these rock bluffs and some of the big timber, he's closer. So I may say, just tone it down a little bit, something like that. But if a guy wants to call, it's his hunt, the way I look at it. And like I said, I sat back and learned a lot from some great guys.
Yeah, there's some great callers out there, I'm telling you, especially with, we just talking about the NWTF. They had their 50th anniversary show down there at Nashville, Grand Ole Opry Hotel. I wasn't able to make it this year. It's been about 6-7 years, maybe even 8 years since I've been, but for 3 years we went, we were die hard and had people on stage and everything. But man, it is a time. If you get a chance to go to Nashville, definitely take the trip during the NWTF Grand Nationals and their convention. Have you all ever set up down there at the Grand Nationals, the Nashville show?
No, we haven't. Our buddy that we work a lot with, Devil's Power Outfitters out of Hewlett, Wyoming. Excuse me. He was down there this year, and he's been down there last year. And he knew we were still in the East, and he sent us the text there last weekend and said, "Man, you guys need to get down here in Nashville. We've got you covered," and things like that. We just way our schedules were working, meeting with some clients up here on some other hunts. We just couldn't do it, but no, it's on our list to do. It's they say it's a phenomenal show.
So speaking of one of your partners there, you all also have an outfit in Africa that you all deal with a different outfitter there.
We do.
So tell us a little bit about that section of your all's business.
That's something that, I've had some experience when I was younger, spent some time in Africa, and was fortunate enough to do quite a bit of hunts there. My father-in-law was a big African hunter. My dad, I don't know, he's probably 8 or 10 safaris, and, so I was always around me. And when I was younger, I went, my brothers went, things like that. So, the Charleston show was a little bit slow last year. So, just talking to an outfitter up there that I've talked to for the last 15 years, we got to talking about business stuff and how things are going, the COVID, how it affected things, just shop talk, employees and things like that. So, we struck up a deal that he's having some issues with some trying to find workers. I mean, it's kind of like a worldwide thing. People don't want to work, and so long story short, we did a couple more shows together, and we had some clients that were wanting to go to Africa. And it was kind of like, man, I really want to go, and I've encouraged them to go, but just that step of the travel, the import your guns, and it's not as difficult as a lot of people think it is traveling with rifles and ammo and going overseas. So long story short, we just invested a little bit with him, and some of our clients are going down this summer, and we're going to go stay a while and get some time in and with him at his place, and maybe do a little bit of hunting for ourselves if we have the time, but just taking care of our clients. That's already set up to do it again, in 2024. We've already had some people booked and some people, thinking about, even being 2 years out and going ahead and setting up for 2025. So it's just kind of a little shot in the arm in our business end of it, and just keeps us hunting again. So it's going to keep us hunting about 10 months out of the year.
So I know there earlier we were talking about, how your outfit there in Hiland is not high fenced. and us talking about Africa. Obviously, you know, some of these places over there are going to be high fence because of the animals that you're trying to hunt and things like that. And obviously protection from the animals for the, you know, like you said, poaching and things like that. Is that a big problem there?
Yeah, it is. It's, supply and demand, without getting into the politics of different countries there, there's times where, people need to survive, and they will poach game to get the protein, to get the meat or whatever it may be. There's, then there's the poachers that poach for the money X part of it, the ivory, the rhino horn and things like that. So, but though they are game fenced, a lot of that's really, just for their protection. It's for the landowner's protection of what they've invested in. All of a sudden they decided, well, cattle's not, I can make more money by preserving my wildlife than raising cows in here. So that happens, and then it's
man, that's
and it's
crazy.
brought back a lot of animals that were almost extinct too. I mean, I don't think that the antis realize that. They will say, "Oh, well, it's they're shooting in a fence or something like that." Most generally, that is not the case. There's a lot of these big properties you can go into, and once you go through a main gate, you will never see another fence, and things will be as wild as they are, elsewhere in the continent.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. All right, so we were talking about there, before the podcast, how you all just got off your hunt there in Ohio. So you all are away from the ranch right now. Talking about the crazy weather out in that area. You all have got 3 foot of snow. You said you got another foot coming this week. So with weather like that, and it's probably like that a lot, do you all have somebody that tends to the ranch while you are gone and the animals and things? How's that work?
Yeah, we do. We our neighbor, one of the ranchers that we hunt on, he's we got a cow dog and some horses, things like that, and then they just kind of we just take them out and unload them on his place, and they kind of that's their. My wife says their foster home. They know that's where they're going to stay while we're gone, and they're pretty good about it. We have some good neighbors. They're good about checking the house and things like that. But, with that cold weather, we had a -31 a few nights ago. We saw on a game camera that the snow had set off. So, but, of course, it's one of those things you get used to. You just drain all the water and shut everything down and go back and dig it in. I know they were talking about they'd have to get a backhoe to get us back in our driveway. So hopefully they'll get that taken care of.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of preparation that you all got to do before you leave.
Oh,
and,
yes.
There's a lot of things you all got to do when you get back just before you even get settled in. It's not like coming home from a vacation and you just plop down on the couch.
Yeah, you're right. So it seems like there's always something to do.
Yeah, definitely. I can only imagine. We've got another guest coming on. I'm not sure if it's next. It may be next month, but Casey Bennett from California. So he's a big turkey hunter out in that area. We're going to try to get a West Coast approach and view of how turkey hunting is. So, I tried to get you in line here so we can start moving our way out towards him. So it worked out perfect that you came on tonight.
Yeah, I had my brother, actually, he was on a Mossberg dealer hunt in Washington last year, and he said the turkey hunting there is phenomenal. He said it just blew his mind. And I just never thought much about Washington State being a turkey place. But he said it was one of the best hunting trips he's been on.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that either, but, I don't know much about the West, but we're going to find a little bit of it out sometime in the coming months. So, well, James, I just wanted to thank you before you get off. You're traveling right now from a couple shows and things out there in Wisconsin, so we appreciate you filling in for our co-host not being here this evening, and we got to talk a little bit about your business as well. So thank you, James. I appreciate you.
Hey, I appreciate you too. Hey, Tom, you guys be careful going back and talk to you soon. Mike, thanks again.
All right, James.
Yep, thank you, sir.
Hey,
you all have a safe trip.
Hey, I got one comment before I pop off here. I think it's special that all 3 of us, our wives, are directly involved with the business. I made the comment that male-dominated business, but our wives are deep involved in our businesses, and they do
Yes.
very well, and they promote our business and each other greatly. I appreciate them. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
I couldn't ask for a better wife than things like that. And Terry's, she's got her own clientele now. I mean, she's been guiding for 10 years, and there's hunters that won't even talk to me. She's guided them before they
Yeah.
call her. They book with her.
That's awesome.
And she goes, well, so-and-so's coming back, and we're going to hunt here. So.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I'm looking on your all's Facebook page for a picture for our cover for the podcast, and we do a snippet of what the show was like and some things that are said just to kind of promote it before the day that it goes out. And I was looking for a picture, and I'm like, man, Terry's in a lot of these pictures. Where's Tom at?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you what, I had a couple guys to the show that came up this year, and they had been in another booth and ran into some other hunters that was ours. And they're coming telling me what this guy's saying. Tom never saw that elk, and Terry took her 15 minutes to show Tom where that was on the slope, and he couldn't find it. She had me halfway up there before he found it. So it's all
That's
good fun,
funny.
but they weren't lying. I'll give you that. I think she can do things, and at times a lot better than I can.
Yep, that's good, man. Yeah, we all three got good wives, that's for sure. We're very blessed and thankful, that's for sure. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this evening. Tom, we really appreciate you coming on. I know we talked there at the hunting show just a little bit. Like I said, it was pretty busy and jam-packed. I didn't get a chance to come back over and talk to you, but I sure appreciate your time, and I'd like to get a chance to come out there and visit you guys and do a little hunting. So we'll try to set that up sometime in the near future. But tell everybody a little bit about how they can get a hold of you, how they can schedule a hunt, and different things like that, about your Facebook page, and how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah, our website is HilandOutfitters.com. It's the Hiland is spelled Hiland. So that has all of our hunts listed on it. It has our contact emails for Terry and myself, and our phone numbers. We do have a Facebook and Instagram. We invite you to follow that. We try to keep that updated as much as we can with what's going on. Then you go on our website too. It'll have the gallery in the back, and it'll have the season and everything we shoot. In hunting, not everything you shoot's the biggest trophy or whatever. And we've always made it a point. Everything that's killed goes on there, whether it's big or small. So we're not with somebody's going to just put all the big elk on there, not the 4x4 or something. So,
oh yeah.
But people are welcome to contact us anytime. We love to talk hunting and fishing, and there's a lot of people that travel through too. Something I forgot to bring up earlier. Maybe going to Yellowstone or something. You want to take a day and go fishing, and we've had some great fishing opportunities for some big rainbows and browns and things like that we do in the middle of the summer. So,
yeah, I was going to mention that. I seen on your all's Facebook page there, you all do a lot of trout fishing and stuff out there now.
Yeah, and that's this thing that we started doing years ago. A lot of times a guy may shoot his antelope on the first day or kill an elk on the second day, and we have 2 or 3 more days to do something. Well, I'm not one of these guys that are going to bore you till you go home. You know what I'm saying? You paid to come do something. Let's go shoot some coyotes, or let's go do some fishing.
Yeah.
So, and we were pretty fortunate to have a couple private areas to fish to where you can catch a 20-inch rainbow. I mean, it's very doable. We're not that far from the Wind River. That's a well-known trout stream, or a lot of guys can't believe that you can go catch 30 brookies in a day up in the mountains. So
yeah,
that's something that we can always do also.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that. Come out there and kill a nice big 6x6 and then go trout fishing right after that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so here we're trying to end the show, and I got more questions coming. So when you have guests out there like that, do you all have a lodge? Do you all do the meals, or do they stay at a certain place, or how's that
go? They stay at
go?
our main place. We have a couple rooms that's sectioned off. We sleep 4 in each room. Hunters have their own restroom and all that, showers, things like that. No matter what we're doing, we're going to do a big home-cooked breakfast in the morning. When we go to the field, we're going to take our lunches and things with us, and we have a big dinner in the evening. And hot showers and all that. We do have a couple we call them spike camps. They're cabins that are pretty new that we can, when we're elk hunting, we may come off the mountain instead of, taking the 30-minute ride back in. We're just going to hit one of the cabins and camp out there and have a good cooked meal, but they're comfortable and clean and modern. So we do have that option also.
Man, that's cool. That's nice to have that option,
So we just try to, see basically what the hunters, what's going to work best for them, what they want to do. But I've always been, the person that thinks, if a person's, I probably said this earlier, if a person's paying you to come do something and, if they kill out early, I mean, it's good that they did, but if, some guys want to sit back and relax and maybe have a cold beer and just watch the damn open binoculars off the porch of the house or something. Or if we want to go fishing, we can do that. So we try to leave it up to them.
Or just hang out by the campfire.
Right. Right. And we're pretty much, our main place is the middle of the state. So within 2.5 hours, you could be in Yellowstone, you can be in Jackson Hole, you could be up to, a lot of things to go see and do too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you're saying, I think it's great that you all put everything on the website, whether it's small or big, because I mean, it's a good thing that you all are not basing it on the actual, animal or the size of it. I mean, obviously that's the biggest thing that they're going for, and the topping on the cake there. But I mean, just the experience, like you're saying, out west and being in the outdoors and just being in God's country. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the main things we do this for, because it's in us. It lives within us.
Yeah, it is. And, this could go on probably forever on another subject, but, as far as I've been on some hunting trips where I didn't kill the biggest thing, or maybe I didn't get anything, but those hunts are still probably mean more to me than some other things I did. Just because the people I was with, maybe something funny happened, or the people I met, or just the time I had outdoors. So I think that if people go into looking at a trip as just an adventure, I'm going to go with it and then see what happens. And, I've had guys so worried that if they didn't kill something X amount of size, that they were going to be miserable. And I've watched guys make themselves miserable, and that's a low number of hunters. But, most people from this general area in the southeast, they come out and want to have a good time. Let's fish, let's hunt, let's bullshit, let's have a good time, And then those guys enjoy their hunts, and those are the guys that seem like they get the better animals.
That's awesome. Yep. Enjoying the outdoors.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, Tom, we sure appreciate you coming on and the opportunity to have you on here and talk about Hiland Outfitters. And James, we appreciate you as well, sir.
Appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Y'all have a safe trip back home.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Carrie in the background.
Yep.
All right, guys. So that's going to do it for this evening. Be sure to check us out on the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls on our Facebook page. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. We're on Pandora. We're on about 25 different outlets. So be sure you check us out and give us a subscribe. And that'll do it for this evening. So, Tom, it was great having you. We appreciate you. And everybody have a good evening.
Thank you.
This episode of On the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls is brought to you by Ghost 802, a sports team based in Vermont. Their goal is to promote safe and ethical hunting and to raise the youth to share the same passion for the archery, hunting, and the outdoors as they did growing up. For more information, check them out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Let them know that you heard about them right here on the Limb with Nature's Voice Game Calls.